The radar screens inside China's air defense bunker suddenly flickered. A shape appeared where nothing should exist. A B-2 Spirit, the world's quietest bomber, had just slipped into contested airspace, completely unseen. But before the operators could even react, another signal lit up. A J-20 had already locked on. Not by accident, but as if it had been waiting. And what happened in the next 14 seconds stunned both nations. The alarms didn't sound at first. That was the disturbing part. Deep inside the Western Theater Command's monitoring center, the air felt heavy, still, almost too calm. A junior radar officer squinted at his screen, tapping the glass as a faint ripple crossed the display. "Probably interference," he muttered. But the ripple sharpened, turning into a perfect, unmistakable silhouette. A B-2 Spirit, inside Chinese skies. For a full second, no one breathed. The Spirit wasn't just a bomber. It was the ghost of the U.S. Air Force. It wasn't supposed to appear on anyone's radar, especially not here. The commander snapped forward. "Verify that track, now!" But before the verification even completed, another symbol appeared. This one bold, sharp, aggressive. No ghost, no ripple. Just a hard, deliberate signature slicing through the screen. A Chengdu J-20. Already airborne. Already vectoring. Already too close. The room reacted at once. Chairs scraped, reports flew, headsets lit up. How did the J-20 get there first? No scramble order had been given, no alert had sounded. It was like the pilot knew exactly where the B-2 would be, and exactly when it would cross the line. High above the cloud layer, the B-2 flew silent, steady, unshaken by the chaos unfolding beneath. Its radar-absorbent skin swallowed every frequency thrown at it. Its engines whispered instead of roared. Inside, the two-man crew stayed laser-focused, unaware that a hunter was climbing to Bai-Sorspan, ward them with frightening precision. The J-20 pilot, call sign Hai Lang, checked nothing, his instruments, his HUD, even his fuel, because everything had already been prepared. His jet sliced through the stratosphere like a blade drawn for a duel. His breathing was calm, too calm, as if this confrontation wasn't a surprise, but a mission he had rehearsed. "Target bearing confirmed," ground control finally spoke. "I've had it confirmed for 3 minutes," Hai Lang replied, and then he saw it. A dark wing, crescent shape, no lights, no sound, moving like a shadow cut from the night. The B-2 was right ahead, exactly where he expected. What happened next would ignite every defense channel, every military analyst, and every air power strategist across the world. Because the encounter didn't go the way anyone predicted. Hai Lang eased the throttle forward, letting the J-20 rise above the haze layer. The sky turned a deeper blue, almost black at the edges. Up here, every movement mattered. One wrong angle, and the B-2 would vanish again like vapor. Inside the Spirit, Captain Reeves felt a faint tremor, the kind pilots only feel when intuition overrides instruments. "You sense that?" he murmured to his co-pilot. "Yeah," the co-pilot whispered. "Like someone's watching us." They both knew that wasn't possible. The B-2 was invisible. It lived in the blind spots of radar. Yet the feeling grew stronger, like the air itself had shifted. Reeves tapped the passive sensors. Nothing. No spikes. No radiation. No sign of a pursuer. Still, something was wrong. Far behind, Hai Lang angled his jet off-axis, refusing to approach head-on. The J-20's nose dipped for half a heartbeat, then pulled upward with Predator's grace. He didn't want to scare the B-2. He wanted to study it. This wasn't an intercept. It was an evaluation. "Maintain distance," ground control instructed. "I am maintaining purpose," Hai Lang corrected. He switched to optical tracking only. No radar, no emissions, just pure pilot skill. Through the J-20's advanced electro-optical system, the B-2 appeared like a floating shadow, absorbing sunlight instead of reflecting it. Beautiful, terrifying, perfectly engineered to slip through nations like a rumor. Reeves adjusted altitude. Something in his gut screamed danger. Climb 200. Something's off. The co-pilot didn't argue. They began ascending. And that's when the unseen line between hunter and hunted snapped. The J-20 moved. Fast. Too fast. A flash of sunlight skimmed off its canards for half a second. A tiny glint. Just long enough for Reeves to notice. "Contact! 11 o'clock high!" he shouted. The cockpit electrified. Hands raced over controls. The Spirit wasn't built for dogfights. It was built to disappear. To run. To hide in the folds of the sky. Reeves pushed the throttle. Smooth, deliberate acceleration, trying to slip into low visibility altitude. But Hai Lang was already there. The J-20 dove behind a cloud like a shark sliding under a wave. His jet reappeared directly on the B-2's tail, closing the distance with surgical precision. Reeves cursed under his breath. How the hell did he find us? No one had the answer. But the next maneuver would shake both crews and rewrite assumptions about stealth warfare. For a few tense seconds, both aircraft sliced through the upper atmosphere in complete silence. No warnings, no missiles, no lock-ons, just two shadows chasing each other through thin, icy air. Reeves gritted his teeth. He's on us again. How is he reading our position? The co-pilot scanned every passive sensor available. No radar emissions, no IR spike, nothing. He's tracking us visually? Reeves didn't respond, because that answer didn't make sense. At this altitude, in this lighting, even trained eyes would struggle to see the B-2. But Hai Lang wasn't just seeing it. He was predicting it. The J-20 pilot eased his jet into a shallow curve, matching the Spirit's evasive drift before the crew inside even finished committing to the maneuver. It was like watching someone finish your sentence before you spoke. On the ground, analysts crowded around the command screen. He's shadowing the B-2 with no emissions at all. He's reading air pressure trails? Another officer shook his head. Impossible. Yet nothing about this intercept was following the rulebook. Up above, Reeves made his move. Prepare for a high-speed dive. The co-pilot swallowed hard. In a Spirit? Unless you want a J-20 riding our spine, yes. The B-2 pitched down, gliding into a steep descent. Air hissed violently around the curved leading edges as gravity pulled the bomber into darker, denser air. It was a rare maneuver for a Spirit, risky and unconventional, but it had pulled off crazier things in combat simulations. For a moment, it seemed to work. The J-20 overshot by a hair. But Hai Lang smiled inside his helmet. He wasn't chasing the bomber. He was corralling it. Before Reeves could stabilize, the J-20 rolled into a perfect half-barrel maneuver, cutting diagonally across the B-2's projected escape path. He reappeared on the Spirit's left flank, so close Reeves could almost imagine hearing the hum of the Chinese engines. Damn it, he's anticipating our moves! Reeves pulled the bomber into a hard bank. Hai Lang didn't follow. Instead, he climbed, straight up, disappearing into blinding sunlight. Where did he go? The co-pilot shouted. Reeves scanned the sky, heart pounding. He's setting up something. Stay sharp. Then, without warning, the J-20 came diving down like a spear thrown from the heavens. The angle was perfect. The timing was perfect. But what Hai Lang intended to do next would stun the B-2 crew and every military analyst who later reviewed the footage. Hai Lang's dive wasn't an attack. It was a message. At Mach speeds, the J-20 streaked downward in near vertical descent, vapor peeling off its wings as the G-forces slammed into his chest. To the B-2 crew, it looked like a missile, straight, unstoppable, deadly. Reeves's hands tightened around the controls. He's going to overshoot. He has to pull out. But Hailang didn't. He held the dive. Closer. Closer. Too close. Reeves felt sweat cold on his spine. The Spirit couldn't outmaneuver this. It wasn't built for aerial fencing. It was built to survive by never being seen at all. Yet here it was, an invisible jet being hunted by a jet the world still didn't fully understand. "Brace!" the co-pilot shouted. Hailang waited until the last possible fraction of a second, then snapped the J-20 out of its dive with a maneuver so sharp it nearly folded the sky. The jet didn't pass the B-2. It stopped beside it. A controlled, almost respectful parallel position, wingtip to wingtip, with barely 20 meters separating them at 40,000 feet. The B-2 crew froze. "What the... is he... escorting us?" Reeves blinked, unable to believe the sight. The J-20 wasn't locking weapons, wasn't forcing evasive action, wasn't signaling aggression. It was holding formation, like a guardian, or a rival wanting acknowledgement. Hailang tilted his helmet slightly, eyes scanning the shadowy contour of the Spirit. He had trained years for this moment, studied Western stealth, analyzed flight patterns, learned how to feel the sky instead of simply reading it. And now, the world's most secret bomber was next to him, close enough to study with his own eyes. Ground control crackled in his ear. "Hailang, maintain distance. Do not engage." He muted the channel with a single tap. Inside the Spirit, Reeves whispered, "What is this guy doing?" Then Hailang performed the most shocking gesture of the entire encounter. He raised one gloved hand and tapped his helmet twice. A pilot's signal the B-2 crew instantly recognized. Respect between stealth pilots. No hostility. No threat. Just acknowledgement. Then the J-20 peeled away, slow, deliberate, controlled, climbing back toward higher altitude, leaving the B-2 stunned in its wake. But the encounter wasn't over. Not even close. Because Hailang had done something else during that formation pass, something Reeves wouldn't notice until moments later, and it would change the entire mission. For several long moments, Reeves and his co-pilot just stared at the empty sky where the J-20 had vanished. The Spirit glided steady, but inside the cockpit, there was nothing steady about their breathing. "Did he just salute us?" the co-pilot whispered. Reeves didn't answer. He was too focused on a single question. Why would a J-20 pilot risk his life just to pull alongside them? Courtesy wasn't a concept in stealth operations. Precision was. Secrecy was. Anything else was a liability. Reeves checked their instruments again. Fuel normal, altitude normal, signature low. But then, a tiny red indicator blinked on the left systems panel. The co-pilot leaned forward. "What's that? We didn't have a fault there before." Reeves zoomed in on the readout. A pressure anomaly. Micro-vibration. Nothing major. Except, "It's on the port side intake," Reeves said slowly. "Right where he flew closest." The cockpit fell silent. "You think he saw something wrong?" the co-pilot asked. Reeves didn't want to believe it. That made no tactical sense. No J-20 pilot would warn a foreign bomber deep inside contested skies. But then again, no pilot would risk a parallel formation at 40,000 feet unless something bigger was happening. Reeves tapped the structural readings. The anomaly became clearer, barely measurable but growing. A misaligned panel seam, possibly caused by thermal stress during their diving maneuver. Left unfixed, it could ripple, then widen, then fail. "He didn't salute," Reeves muttered. He was signaling. The realization hit like ice. Hailang hadn't come close to threaten them. He'd come close to inspect them, and he'd spotted something the Spirit's sensors hadn't caught yet. Meanwhile, high above, Hailang leveled off at 48,000 feet, exhaling slowly. He knew the Americans would decode the gesture. Stealth pilots shared a strange brotherhood, silent respect for machines that flew like myths. Ground control buzzed in his ear again. "Hailang, report! Why did you leave formation? Why disable comms?" He reconnected only long enough to deliver one line. "The Spirit will correct course in 3 minutes. Do not interfere." He cut the channel again, letting the J-20 drift into a high circling watch position. Below, Reeves adjusted their trajectory to reduce stress on the intake side. "You think he's still up there?" the co-pilot asked. Reeves nodded. "He's not chasing us anymore. He's making sure we don't break apart." But what Hailang was really waiting for, what he knew was coming, would force the two aircraft into a final, shocking moment neither side had prepared for. The B-2 glided in silence, but the cockpit no longer felt silent at all. Every vibration, every murmur of airflow, every soft hum from the panels suddenly felt amplified. Reeves kept one eye on the anomaly, watching it creep from minor to noticeable. The co-pilot's voice cracked slightly. "If that seam widens any further, it could compromise the intake's airflow," which meant turbulence, engine instability, maybe worse. Reeves steadied his tone. "We adjust altitude slowly. Keep the stress off that side. The aircraft can handle this." But even he didn't sound convinced. 40 miles above and closing in from the sun's glare, Hailang watched everything with predatory patience. His J-20 floated in a slow, nearly invisible orbit. No emissions, no radar, no aggressive movement. Just waiting. He'd seen that panel issue in the split second he flew parallel to the Spirit. That was the real reason he ignored ground orders. A Spirit diving with a stressed intake was a RARS. Iska Spirit attempting to climb with one? Deadly. Inside the bomber, the co-pilot's eyes widened. "We're losing stability on the left. Airflow is fluctuating again." "Counter trim," Reeves said. "Slowly." But the turbulence didn't slow. It grew. Then, a sharp bang reverberated through the cockpit. Not catastrophic, but enough to jolt both men. Reeves's heart dropped. "The seam split further. We need to descend to denser air. Now!" The co-pilot froze. "But if we descend, we lose stealth envelope. We'll light up on everything." Reeves didn't hesitate. Better lit up than torn apart. He initiated a controlled descent. That's when Hailang made his move. The J-20 dove instantly, not with aggression but with urgency. Reeves looked up and saw the unmistakable silhouette dropping toward them, fast, decisive. "What does he want now?" the co-pilot shouted. The answer came seconds later. Hailang slid in ahead of them, not beside, not behind, ahead, taking the brunt of the drag and turbulent pockets. He positioned the J-20 like a windbreak, shielding the Spirit's damaged intake from the worst of the airflow as it descended. "He's guiding us," Reeves whispered in disbelief. No one watching from the ground believed what they were seeing. Two rival stealth aircraft, one American, one Chinese, moving in synchronized descent like a pair of dancers who had practiced the routine for years. Hailang maintained the buffer, adjusting pitch, absorbing airflow ripples, forcing the turbulence away from the B-2's vulnerable side. Reeves steadied the bomber. The descent continued. But what happened when they reached the lower altitude was the moment that would go viral in leaked footage worldwide. The moment when both pilots realized they were no longer dealing with a mission, but with each other. They broke through the haze layer at last, dropping into steadier, denser air. The turbulence eased. The intake's stress readings stabilized. Reeves exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. "We're back in the safe envelope," the co-pilot reported quietly. Reeves nodded, still staring at the J-20 ahead of them, guiding, shielding, adjusting its position with small, precise corrections any pilot would instantly recognize as deliberate protection. Not rivalry. Not threat. A silent oath between aviators. Finally, at 28,000 feet, Hai Lang peeled away. No flare, no roll, no dramatic exit. Just a clean, professional break. One fighter banking right, one bomber holding course left, parting like two soldiers who had shared a battlefield without ever speaking a word. Reeves watched the J-20 shrink into the horizon. "He saved us," the co-pilot whispered. Reeves didn't respond. He didn't need to, because deep down, he knew the truth. In the world of stealth aviation, politics disappear, but pilots don't. Skill recognizes skill. Courage recognizes courage. And in the thin air between nations, respect sometimes outweighs rivalry. Miles away, Hai Lang leveled off, the sun reflecting off his canopy. He restored his comms at last. "Control, this is Hai Lang. Intercept complete. The Spirit will exit airspace safely." "Did you engage the bomber?" the controller barked. Hai Lang looked toward the faint speck disappearing across the border. "No," he replied calmly. "I engaged the sky." He cut the transmission, letting the silence speak for itself. Reeves set the B-2's course home. The bomber stabilized, engines humming perfectly again. As the last trace of the J-20 vanished behind cloud, he whispered to himself, "Whoever you are, I hope our nations never force us to meet as enemies." Because if today proved anything, it was this. In the highest skies on Earth, pilots don't fly for flags. They fly for survival and respect. If you enjoyed this incredible real-time aviation encounter, let me know what aircraft you want to see next. And don't forget to subscribe for more high-intensity air power stories.